Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Tilted Talk. As always, it's Trooper and Trooper here to bring you all of the latest news in Fortnite.
What's going on, guys? Sorry, man, I was excited.
Oh man, I am too. I am too. I was gonna say, it's I think this is a great episode to show that enemies can come together. Trooper's from Philly, I'm from Toronto, and we're putting our differences aside this week, despite what's going on in the NBA playoffs right now, to bring you guys all of the goodness in Fortnite. So we have another big episode for you guys. We hope you guys are excited. We definitely are. A lot of news this past week. Obviously, we'll start, with the patch breakdown from last week. It's kind of unfortunate that they seem to have moved the patch like a day forward, so we're not getting that first day look. We're getting like a week late look at these patches half of the time. But it is kind of nice because now we have a full week to let the patch settle in and really see how it affects gameplay. So, there's pros and cons. Then obviously we'll talk a little bit about the World Cup. And then as usual, weigh in on some community discussions, check out the clips of the week, and finally field any questions from you guys. So if you have any questions for us, either right now or over the course of the show, and I will remind you guys again multiple times throughout the show, but feel free to drop them in the chat either on Mixer or Twitch, wherever you're watching, and we will answer those immediately. And if you're watching this VOD later on YouTube, send us those tweets throughout the course of the week. We'll get to them next week. Anyway, let's get right into it. Patch 8.51, the last patch of Season 8. I'm kind of sad, but not really. I can't wait for Season 9, man. I hope the baller disappears. Sorry, Balla. Not you. We love you, but the weapon, the vehicle, you guys know what I mean. That thing's got to go. But also that probably has to go is what was introduced in this new patch, and it's these shadow grenades. Now, last week you said, I'm going to hate this, and we didn't even get to try it, but lo and behold, you were right.
Yes. I mean, I knew right off the bat I wasn't going to like them because I believe that there shouldn't be anything in a competitive shooter. Like, they're trying to make this as big, the biggest esport in the world. It's a competitive shooter, technically. It's a battle royale. There shouldn't be anything in the game that makes you invisible, I think. They have Call of Duty with their specialists, and they have different perks and strengths. But a lot of them are banned from competitive play. You're not able to actually use them because for many reasons. So it's probably best if they keep things like this away. Obviously, there's so many things that they add into the game that are completely outlandish that people really don't like and have to adapt to in the craziest ways. Completely change their playstyle sometimes. But for this is one thing I think everybody can agree on, where it is just way too strong in every scenario. And obviously, you say, hey, there's only 5 inventory slots. So it adds another layer where maybe, are you going to really keep them for something else? But it makes me invisible. You know how insanely effective those things are in endgame scenarios? In my opinion, they're just as effective. They're in the S tier of items, just like I'd say the Rift to Go is. I'd say
plus. Yeah, definitely. Because not only are you invisible, but you can jump off walls. Like
exactly. The more you stay in the air, that thing can last forever. If you can wall ride, if you can master your wall riding like Lucio in Overwatch, if you got that down, you will stay invisible as long as you can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, that trailer was supposed to create hype, and to me, it just showed me everything that I was going to hate about that item right away. Obviously, it's cool for streamers and content creators. You can definitely do some pretty nifty stuff with it, but good God. I mean, just like, look at this. Like, this guy's getting shot by 3 people, has low ground. I don't need to build. I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to hop. Now, let's be fair. This was probably made in, by Epic devs and made as a way to demonstrate this, because those guys had absolutely no idea that he was doing that, and you can sort of see them. But, like, are you kidding me? The guy just gets up right behind them for free. He gets to shoot a rocket launcher into their back. Like, oh man, that was I don't know. I'm honestly surprised we didn't hear a bigger uproar from the actual competitive community itself, because again, this was released on Thursday, and then come Saturday, it's in your tournament. Hey guys, we hope you're having fun, but here's some invisi grenades for you guys to have. It's like, and we saw clips of them too. Like, I think even one of the clips we've got lined up for later when we're actually talking about the World Cup actually has it in. Like, one of the guys who, there was a glitch, and anyway, we'll get to that in a bit, but like, I'm pretty sure he uses it pretty effectively, and you're just like, okay, well, I mean, congrats, but I don't know. I mean,
muddies the waters too much for my taste.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, I really think that This is probably going to be a topic that we keep revisiting over and over again, but Fortnite's in a very difficult situation of balancing the competitive and the casual scenes, and it's just not going to be easy. I'm glad we both agree, though. We don't have to see. We can still be friends. We can agree on things.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd rather us debate on certain topics, but for this one, this is universally, I think, something where I don't know. Maybe they should have now a vaulting event and see if people choose this, because that's something I might do. Actually, I don't know. I probably have a whole list somewhere I got to dig out of that I've angrily made while sleepwalking or something of all the things I want to see vaulted. I'm sure it's somewhere if I dig hard enough.
Yeah. There's a couple of things from this season, but thankfully, guys, the season ends tomorrow. So I doubt we're gonna see these grenades go. Honestly, the shadow bomb.
Yep.
I honestly think they're probably gonna stick around for a little while. It's not an Epic style to introduce something for 1 week. They usually give it a lot longer of a leash than that. So I would be very surprised if that was the case for these. And honestly, like I said, I didn't see the same uproar that I thought I was going to see. Like, I thought I was going to see way more Twitter posts and way more Reddit threads just freaking out about this, but I actually surprisingly didn't see that many.
Yeah.
But that's really the only major. I mean, that was really the only thing they announced in the patch for the actual BR. I mean, apart from that, they announced like one bug fix where sound effects for jetpacks were like nerfed a little bit. So then that way it wasn't. I mean, apparently, according to them, the sound was too loud. It wasn't supposed to be that loud originally. So, but apart from that, everything is pretty much the same. So there is that on the plus side. At least the majority of the game was exactly how players were used to. But there has been a lot of criticism this season, although apparently it's from a small portion of the community, because this kind of gets us into the other big thing that happened this week, which was the unvaulting event on the weekend. And the drum gun. The drum gun is what came back. Not the SMG, not the bouncer. Thank God, not the jet plane or the sword. If you were one of the people voting for the sword, you are a heathen. I'm saying it now. There's no love here for you. No, I'm just kidding. We still like you anyway, but like, really, do you have to do that?
I know.
Unless you knew it was losing and you were like, I'm just going to be a troll, then okay, I accept that. I accept it. But if you were serious, like, come on, sword, then I'd love to hear your rationale behind that. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I in my lobby, there was one person whacking the sword. So, that person, I mean, I want to believe that person didn't even want it to come back. He was just like going against the crowd, Like,
yeah.
I want to believe that it was something like that. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, it was just completely overwhelmingly in the favor of the drum gun in my room. Once I saw, I mean, I think the TAC SMG, which by the way I was voting for, I was swinging to death, just praying that was the victor, but not even close. And I don't know if every room had the drum gun as a leader, if maybe one of the rooms had everybody just so happened to go for the TAC SMG, and then everyone's like looking like, why is the drum gun going up so much? Like, I wonder how that was working across every server. But I'm disappointed. I mean, I'm happy that the TAC SMG was second. Maybe that means it could have a possibility of coming back in the future, but I don't know, man. Drum gun's a little too much for me right now.
It's really strong. It's really strong. Thankfully, they didn't throw that back into the Overwatch World Cup competitive. I know that got a gigantic sigh of relief from most people. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it got like 46% of the vote or something insane like that across all the servers.
That's wild.
It's just like, how is this?
That is so wild.
How is this popular? And I mean, this is something I think we're going to get to in a little bit more depth later, but it really does show how big the casual community is, and it kind of does. Oh, yeah. I think it was a good eye opener, honestly, for everybody else, like people like us and people on Reddit, and a lot of us who are love the game and are pretty vocal about it. We are kind of the minority, guys. Like the people have spoken, and we were not the people, apparently.
Yeah,
we were like that one guy that votes for like the independent in a political election. We're just like, hey, we're gonna throw our vote over here. Everybody thinks the way we do, right? Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, it was not how it was going down.
No.
Not even close.
No, not even close at all. But it was a cool event. I mean, I like the idea that they did that, honestly. So, yeah. I don't know. Hopefully they do more interesting events like that. Just, maybe just never unvault the sword or the plane or the baller once that gets vaulted. And, I won't be too salty.
Yeah.
The drum gun is still you still have to be able to aim to use it, right? It's like, it's not as awful as
somewhat. I mean, Hip fire.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it is strong from the hip fire, and I mean, it is like I got a bunch of kills with one earlier today, so it is. I mean, I felt great. I was like, "Woo, look at me!" But part of me also felt terrible and awful about myself. It's like just like the same feeling you get when you're eating a pint of ice cream and you're like, "I should not be doing this."
You know when you're making the wrong decision, but you just do it anyway.
Yeah, I was just like turning off my brain, being like, "No, shut up, brain. This is what we're doing."
Mhm.
But
it's a, if you can't beat them, join them mentality.
yeah, pretty much. The other thing is that Tilted disappeared, which like obviously for this show doesn't bode well. Trust me, guys, we're not going to disappear. No volcanoes taking us out. I promise. I live in Canada. There are no volcanoes to be found, and I'm pretty sure there's no volcanoes near Philly either. So I think we're good.
I don't know. We did have an earthquake once. Once. Never know. I mean, if you were playing Fortnite the last week, a lot of people were like, "Why aren't you giving us a field of view slider?" And they say, "Well, because we feel like it creates motion sickness." And then everyone's like, "Then why is my screen shaking every 5 seconds because of this volcano?" Everyone just felt like they were getting trolled.
Yeah, that was a weird. Excuse for that, and we'll get to that in a bit too. That's something else I had queued up to talk about. But the one question I did want to ask you, just specifically with Tilted getting moved, is where is the hot drop spot now? Like, where is the spot that we can all
retail
go?
would have been the obvious second choice, but retail's gone.
Because like that's the thing. There's not that many spots. Like the beautiful thing about Tilted was it had so many buildings, so a lot of people could land there and get loot. But also, it was pretty central on the map. So it wasn't like you had to like land there and then know that you had to figure out a way to get across the map for the circle, right? Like you were in a pretty central location. No circle was going to be overly far for you to get to. And a lot of the time, if you landed in Tilted, the circle would be on you. So you could just loot all of Tilted, kill all of Tilted, and just hang out there for like 10 minutes and play more like a shooter than like a bat. Like, you know what I mean? It would just felt like strictly like an arena shooter, almost like you're just like trying to get kills and find stuff, but you're not really trying to traverse the map so much. But now that's gone. The only other place that has anywhere close to the number of buildings is Happy Hamlet. And that's
that's so true.
So corner
That's
building.
So true. Wow. So I didn't even think of that.
So it's like, what are people going to, is everyone going to land at Happy now?
Like Paradise is probably the second
place.
Paradise is probably the next spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird because it's in the corner of the map, so that could still script the loophole. But I feel that I don't know. It's weird because when it comes to the competitive side of the game, at this point, there is a handful, very small amount, if any, of players that their regular drop spot is Tilted. Retail probably a little more popular, but I mean, besides the popular, the drops from Nick Merckx and Aiden. On Ghost, I mean, there wasn't too many. I mean, I'm sure I'm just there's a couple names that also make that their usual spot, but a lot of people picked other POIs in unnamed locations. Tilted really wasn't as popular for that. Now, when it comes to the casual game, it's going to affect those games greatly, and I'm actually excited. I have barely had a chance to play since Tilted got taken out, but I'm looking forward to seeing if now with the two main probably like PvP heavy locations on the map. I'm excited to see if now, instead of having lobbies where the first circle's closed and we have 30 people or less, we might have 50 or more. We might have like full lobbies now, and I think that's what a lot of people are looking forward to seeing, is if these change of POIs on the map or removal of POIs, I should say, is going to change it to where we have an exciting mid game again. Because there's a little bit of time there for a while where it was just early game, like those quick hot drops, and then that mid game sometimes, unless you found like maybe a drift board or if you would fly with your quad crusher, really maybe you had a rift. There's a lot of like the mid game turned like pretty slow because the lack of players, and not as many fights were had. So now I'm excited to see if that improves and if we get fuller games and even bigger opportunities. I think now for people to get some kill records, get some higher kill games. I think which might help people.
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I was a hot dropper, right? Like I either want to have a really good chance at winning this game or start a new one in like 5 minutes. Plus, I just like killing people. I've said that a million times on this show, but it's like I like actually fighting. I don't like running around. So I always tried to drop in like the busiest places. God bless Skulltown, Apex. And for me, it was always like Tilted. When Tilted came out, I think I dropped there every single game for like a month and a half
Me
straight.
too. Me too. I think
Like,
everybody
it was
did.
just that was
It was the main
it.
spot. You had to do it.
And I was honestly surprised that over the course, because I understand why the first few tournaments in competitive play, people were hesitant to go there. Like, I definitely don't want to go there, get eliminated early, not find a gun, you know. But once you play like 10 tournaments and you realize nobody's landing in Tilted, why don't you land? Like, these guys must be watching the VODs too, right? I mean, you're competing at such a high level, you're trying to get better.
Exactly.
Once you realize, like, hey, maybe there's one squad that drops a Tilted, I'm pretty sure we could land there too and be fine. Like, we could even run opposite directions out of Tilted and not have to fight each other at the start of the game. Like, it's not like Salty or something where if two people land there, you're probably going to run into each other. There's no real way around it. But in Tilted, it's like, we drop on one side, you drop on the other side, we loot half, you loot half, we'll both go on our way. And it's like, I was just very surprised, honestly, that we never really saw that evolve. And we never saw a bunch of teams try to land there.
There was a rule that I had.
A couple.
There was a rule I
had
for Tilted. Like, even if you think you cleared Tilted, you didn't clear Tilted. Like, you think everyone's dead, even if you made a full loop around, odds are there's still somebody hiding in a building, somebody that you've missed somewhere, by far. I'm actually gonna add Spaceman to the call right now and get him involved in the show. He's just a couple minutes late, but he was originally supposed to be our guest on here. Recent Fortnite caster for the collegiate Fortnite tournament that was a couple weeks ago. So I'm definitely excited to get him in here talking about that.
I want to know what the actual talent and broadcast reaction was, and everybody there to the infamous event that we talked about last week, where some players decided to quit after winning the entire tournament. Definitely looking forward to getting him in here.
Pretty serious.
Yeah.
All right, I just threw it out there, so I think he's coming in now.
Okay, cool. Is that do we have Sean in here?
He is in the call, I do see.
Okay, cool.
What's up, guys?
Hello, friend.
What's happening?
What's going on, buddies?
There we go.
Hey.
What's up, buddies? How you doing?
I got a little squish here. I feel like I'm in the back seat of a car right now. I'm stuck in the middle seat. Like, what do they call that? Bitch seat? That's me right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
What's happening, man?
What's up, guys? I haven't seen you guys in forever. I'm so sad.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long time.
I'm really sad over here. I just came from class. Thank you guys for letting me come in. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem. Did you learn things?
I did not. No, I should.
He only had the show on his mind. Season 9's tomorrow. He had nothing else on his mind.
Yeah, no, it was not worth it. Let's talk some Fortnite, dude. Come on, let's do this.
Okay. So we just recapped the patch notes really fast and like Tilted disappearing essentially. The one thing I definitely wanted to ask you and get your take on is what on earth happened at that tournament you were casting at that CSL event.
Oh my god!
Give us a breakdown of that. There's a couple questions I want to ask you about it, but
right, so disclaimer: we were already paid at that point, so anything they say, we have no issue. Like, we're good. Yeah. But dude, no. So we finished and everything was fine. Like, we're like, oh, okay, the guys won. We gave our outro. We threw it to the stage, and Alex did a really good job of reeling everybody in. But we were sitting there, and me and Rob. We're like sitting back, we're on our phone, and we're like waiting for the interview to go through, and our headsets are still on so we can hear the main stage audio. And then he's like, yeah, we think the game's just kind of ass. And we're like looked at each other like, did he just say that? So we put our headsets back on, and we're sitting there like, we can't say anything on stream because we're talent, so this is not our fight. We can't do that. So, and then they just keep going on like, yeah, we're just gonna retire and like play something else. I'm like, I was like covered my mic. I was like this. I was like, they're retiring on top. What legends? And then I put it back up, and they're just like, yeah, the game we don't feel like it's worth it. And I'm like, can you imagine being the team that just lost to these kids who are just like, nah, fuck this game. Like, we don't need it. Like, can you imagine? I would have been like, I'm out. So we didn't say anything. We didn't want to because we don't want to get in trouble and like
just like the guy doing the interview is like
and I was happy because Alex was like, yeah, no, that's not good. Give me an answer, because he knew right away. He's like, I can't have this on any reel ever. So but yeah, it was like, dude, I was surprised. Like, look, it's ballsy, yeah, but I was like, I mean, I guess like, look, they're retiring, so like they came in, they win, they got a huge check, they got a nice ring too. Like a huge like diamond ring.
That. I like that touch.
It was like real diamonds. Like they put it on. I was like, holy crap! Why couldn't I like play or something? But yeah, they got the ring and they were like, yeah, we're done. We got our check. We don't like this game. Bye. And I was like, Okay.
Are they going to stick to
Alright.
their guns though? We'll see.
I don't know. I mean, dude, who knows? I don't know. But they were
That's a
definitely
lot to
like,
squander.
thing is, it wasn't like they squeezed out a victory and then like they were fine. Like they were literally swatting people off the stage all weekend. Like they were dominant. So it's like if they decide to come back, I'm pretty sure we would see the same thing.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, you guys definitely played it like champs. I can't believe that. I mean, that guy. Like, I felt so bad for Alex. I think you said his name was. Although he probably did just become super famous over the course of that clip. Like as much as he wasn't, as much as he didn't want it.
That clip is so.
That I mean, that went super viral.
He
I think
did,
it got like over
Slasher
500,000
picked it up.
views. Yeah, Slasher
picked it up, and then he ran it, and then I was like, I capitalized. I was like, oh, it's going viral. First tweet under, I was like, hey, I'm the commentator for this, and then it was just like 500,000 likes, and I was just like, dude, that's nice too, because like a collegiate league like that, like doesn't get like we had good numbers throughout the entire weekend, but like no one's gonna stop their day and be like, oh my God, World Cup or Collegiate League. Like it's not there yet. So like it's good for CSL too, because they started getting huge numbers and like huge support. So like having that kind of stuff that's why last week I brought it in. I was like, do you think that collegiate players, like they're not pros or they're not in the circuit yet, so do you think they should be the ones making the most vocal announcements to get things changed? But I look, at the end of the day, I think it's ballsy, but I think go for it, dude. Like, what do you have to lose, really? I mean, we're in different positions, so we can't comment on it, but like, what do they have to lose? Not a whole lot. They won. No. They're done. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
And they're talented enough at the game, right? That it's like the thing is Epic has open qualifiers. It's not like, as far as I know, Epic hasn't shadow banned or blacklisted anybody for talking about the game, only for cheating, right? So nothing is stopping them from playing in the World Cup qualifiers anyway, and then getting up on the World Cup stage and doing the exact same thing. But this kind of segues into the second point I wanted to talk to you about with, getting to cast that event. I unfortunately didn't get to watch very much of it. I saw a couple clips, but that was about it. What was your take on like the overall skill level of some of these collegiate players? Like how many of them, like, is it maybe a couple? Was it just them? Is there, a decent chunk or a decent percentage of them? Do you think like have the potential to actually be pro players? Like comparing it and contrasting it with the World Cup qualifier action that you've seen, like how good are these collegiate players right now?
I think that they're not. None of them are like World Cup level quality, and that's nothing against them. It's just like literally everyone in the World Cup is either like a huge streamer who's been playing every single day and like they're just ridiculously good at the game, and that's their job. Like that's what they do. Or it's like some 14-year-old kid who like wasn't it like was his name like Ghost or Shadow or something, like the first ever cup, who like popped out of nowhere and he was like 15 and he got like to 4th place. Like it's kids like that. Yeah. So it's like kids like that who like are just freakishly good and have never been seen before, or people whose job literally is to play that game. These guys are stupidly good at the game, but they're not like they're college students. So like, I asked them when the event was over. I said, so like, what are you gonna do now? Like, you're gonna go for the World Cup? They're like, yeah, we were planning on it, but our finals during one of the qualifiers are like in New York, so our final is during that time, so we're just not gonna go. And it's like that's their life. Like they can't. Like they're kids. They have to go to school, and so. And that prevents them from doing it full time and being as good as they can be. But I mean, the competition itself was really good. Like Penn State struggled. UGA was amazing. Like these guys, when I tell you, I've never seen consistent Fortnite gameplay, even from top streamers like this. Like they were religiously getting themselves into fights and like winning it and coming up with these. And it wasn't even like outbuilding. It was like they would build in the right angles and they would move around the objective, which all weekend we called the objective player 1, which was the person you take out. So like if it's a fight, it's like a 2-on-1, and it's like you like for example UGA, it was like Lemon and Jack. They were their squad, they're running. Let's say they were running through Tilted, and there was one player on another squad they were trying to eliminate. We were like, your objective now is player 1 to kill or to eliminate that guy and move on. Like it wasn't like of course they were getting in build battles and they were winning it, but it was so many situations where we're watching them and they're just making simple 2x2s, or they're making these simple plays where it's not that the other player is bad. It's just that these guys are capitalizing on every inch of pixel they have to make it as easy as possible. So they were consistent. Like most of the teams we saw were consistently good, consistently clutch, like, starting out with 3 or 4 eliminations and continuing that pace throughout the entire game. So they would end with like 12. The highest we had was like 22 elims from 2 guys.
Wow.
And it was just like, it was crazy because we expected crazy, flashy, like down to the wire gameplay, but no one expected like these guys to come out and just consistently, one game after another, Saturday and Sunday, be putting up like 20 elim counts. Like, it was crazy. It was really
nutty.
So they were just like a tier above then. It almost sounds like there was like a couple different tiers at that tournament, and those guys were clearly the best.
Yeah, they were, and it was like there were moments where like UBC, they would have they would have like really good. They were a team they could come back. So if let's say like UGA was down, they got wiped out and they had 5 elim lead, and UBC needed to win that to send it to a game 3. UBC was now stuck. It was like 13 left, and it was 2 of them alive, obviously, and they were like, okay, let's do it, and like they would clutch up and win like time and time again, 5 or 6 times. And we're like, this team is really good at clutching up, but they struggle when it comes to early game. UGA was one of those teams where it was like they just clearly were better. Like some teams were good at just clutching up and making it the most out of a bad situation, but UGA was literally like, I'm gonna start out the first zone with 10 elims and there's nothing about it. Like it was just, but it was cool to see because like you expect college students or players to be pretty good, but to just show consistent level gameplay that you see from top streamers is something no one expected. And it was nice because it's like, okay, these guys clearly brought a show that people didn't expect. And that's cool. That's good for the college scene because they need that. They need people to show up. So it was good.
Absolutely. Shout out to UBC, my Canadian brethren. But it's pretty crazy, man, that they were that good. It's sad. Yeah. I'm pretty sad that we're not going to get to see them like try and compete or try and qualify at least for the World Cup with them having finals at that point. That's really unfortunate. But like you said, I mean, Fortnite, that's a gamble. It's a big gamble. Whereas if you're going to college, you're at a good school, you're getting a good degree, then it's a lot safer, right? It's pretty hard to convince your parents like, hey, mom, dad, I'm going to like not go do my college finals. Although, come on, you think if you were to qualify for the Fortnite World Cup, you could go to your professor and be like, hey, can you Google this Fortnite World Cup thing? Yeah. Can I reschedule my final? I qualified.
Can I take like a week early? Just
so you know what I mean? Like, you think that, I don't know. I feel like most professors, like they're not, they're human beings. They would 100% be like, yeah, you could do that 100%.
You just gotta hope that your teacher plays so they understand. Or they're gonna keep you down and try and be like, no, I'm trying to qualify. I need that spot. You're not allowed at all to schedule.
If I see you in one of those Fortnite World Cup qualifiers, you're failing the exam no matter what.
Imagine a teacher stream snipes you to make you get your ass back to class. We're in a new age, a new era
of pettiness.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. Because I mean, I have friends who are teachers at this point, and it's like, they still game. They're my age. It's like it's weird. We're adults now, guys. How does it feel?
No, we're not.
I don't feel like an adult at all.
I'm the youngest one here, and I have crippling depression, so we're not adults now.
Oh man. All right. Well, yeah, that was essentially what we wanted to like ask you necessarily. I mean, those were my big questions, at least from the weekend. What did you have anything, Tyler, that I didn't ask?
No, he pretty much covered it because I was so curious about that whole event, and I love the turnout, the viewership turnout as well for that event because I feel like that the marketing wasn't up to par with what it could have been, but that was just that's only because it wasn't something that was like heavily promoted from Epic Games themselves. Right. Obviously, but without that beast behind them, I mean, even the marketing they did on Twitter, it seemed to work wonders. And obviously, word of mouth works too, especially on the collegiate level. So guarantee you had a lot of prying eyes, a lot of people that might have been thinking like or checking it out for the first time even. Mm-hmm. So that's always really exciting to think about because we got some new scrubs that we can scrape out now. I'm actually looking forward to it. That's why you gotta love Christmas, man. Brings all the new players in, right? I was like, this was just another Christmas,
Christmas is the best time of year for any experienced game player. You know that you're gonna hop on your favorite game and you're gonna have a whole new class of people that you can beat up on.
Sound of Prestige today. Sounds good.
Yep. But I love. I was gonna say, love these smaller events that aren't like mainly broadcasted by the Fortnite Twitch, just because you have these smaller grassroots events and you see players that you'll maybe never get to see any other way, or that you haven't got a chance to see before. A lot of players get so lucky when they're getting spectated in the middle of one of their games during the qualifiers. It's because there's just so much happening at once. So getting into the spotlight in any way is big, and that's why it's even crazier what those guys decided to do with their spotlight.
Yeah, definitely. I almost wonder with the World Cup qualifiers if they're doing what baseball does. You know how the announcers always seem really smart because they call the hitter the strike like a second early because the audio's desynced from like what's actually happening. I almost wonder if they have that with the World Cup going on, so then that way they can make sure. Because in most games, like you guys both cast too, you know the caster curse is real.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
as soon as you start hyping somebody up, they do something dumb, they die. As soon as you switch to them, they die. It's just that's what happens. So I don't know. The World Cup has not really followed that trend for the most part. It's been pretty cool. You've seen people just go on tears, like you were just saying, Tyler. So I wonder.
I have the opposite
I'm
version
on to you.
of the caster curse. I have the opposite version of that.
Oh, really?
I'll mention. I'll be like, yeah, this player might not be that good with it, and then they'll get like 6 kills with whatever I just said. They're not the best. So yeah, for me, it's like they always prove me wrong, which I love. I love that about players. Like it's almost as if I'm in their ear and they can hear me.
Do players come up and start like being like, "Yo, bro, you have to talk shit about me before while I'm on like?"
I hope not, man.
Middle of this game.
Like, what am I always wrong? Come on, man. Some slack.
Okay, so speaking about the World Cup, let's get into the World Cup results from this past week. We had some big names finally qualify. Some names that I think we all thought were gonna get in there. People like Saf and Zayt,
so happy to see them.
and Funk. Yeah. I mean, these were guys that if I'm not really a betting man necessarily, but if I were a betting man, these were people that I would have put my money on pretty early, and said, I think we can wager that these guys will be in here. Also, the Tempo guys, Brush and Sizz Lucky. And man, this was just like another crazy weekend. I still can't get over how good some of these guys are. Like, just watching these end games is honestly one of my favorite parts of the weekend. It's just like so chaotic. It's like the clips you see, you're just like, how are you this good? What is going on here? But these guys, I mean, obviously, this isn't their first rodeo. They won another tournament before. I think it was the Katowice, right?
Yep.
Where they massively disrespected every single person in attendance by, building a giant 1x1 and giving the entire server the take the L dance.
That was legendary.
That is still
still one of the best clips I think I've ever seen in Fortnite. It's just so just the observer, whoever was observing, they got just the money shot with that, like overlooking the entire area of that end circle, and he's on like the highest point on top of that triangle doing take the L, and he did it for a good like 5 seconds. He was not scared against that. Beautiful.
Look, I mean, at that point they knew they won, right? So at that point they were like, you guys can kill us. We really don't. I mean, we don't have to keep playing. Like, we're done. So, but they were using the ballers. So shame.
Yeah, unfortunately, but at this point, yeah, you gotta. It's again, can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, especially when money's on the line, right? And a chance to go to the World Cup with as much money is up for grabs there. I mean, you absolutely have to. What's your thought of the baller, Spaceman? We haven't asked you about that, and I know we've Trooper and I have been over this a million times, but we'd love to hear your take on it.
I don't really mind it. Like, I don't want to get into this argument, but like, if we're going to start arguing about, not us, I'm talking about proverbial use. If we're going to start arguing about like the semantics behind what Fortnite should be competitive wise and what it shouldn't be, like, there's no point in playing it, because the game was not created and designed for like, MLG insane 1080 in mind. Like, it was not. Like, it's Fortnite. Like, ballers, if you could, like, I think Rob put it best when we were casting. Rob said they're literally used for mobility. Like, whether you're jumping from geyser to geyser or using an ATV, these are literally used for mobility. So it's about controlling the first zone, getting your elims, and then roaming around and making sure you pick off stragglers. That's it. So, like, if people want to complain, like, it's not a lot to take them out. And the thing is that when people get shot with them, they, one, run away in them. 2, if they get shot, they hop out because they want to start fighting. So it's not like it's not like it has 1,000 shield. Like, it doesn't. You can take it out in 4 or 5 hits from a heavy AR. That's it. It's done. And most of it's literally used for scouting. So I think that the idea behind people being frustrated by it are just not utilizing it properly. Like, they're focusing too much on the fact that it literally protects someone, rather than it protects them. They're not shooting at you. It is kind of hard to maneuver in that thing if you get out of position, and you can literally just keep them out of the way by putting a wall up. Like, you can keep them, like, if they're moving all around the outside of the zone, and like, let's for argument's sake, let's say you're playing like Salty and they're moving along the outside, and they have some top pressure, and you want to be able to get the high ground for the next push. You literally just build a wall and they can't go there, and they have to go around. Like it's some of it's just so infuriating. But the point is like people are looking too negatively into it. Like every person I watched over the weekend was using it to move around and get info, and that's it. And then when they found someone, they'd use a geyser, or they'd have a redeploy they would use Rift to go if not. But it's literally just info. Like you can take it down in 3 seconds. So I don't mind it. It's one of those things where it's not that I like it or hate it. I just don't care. Like if you're gonna use it, perfect, go for it. But for people to be upset that it's like in the World Cup and like people are like in the qualifiers, people are running around in ballers. I'm like, you can literally stop them by hitting your shots. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Like it's just info. Like these are all the stuff in the game can. It's about adapting to the meta, right? So like all the collegiate players, the things they did best, the why they were so consistent is because whatever was thrown at them, they just used it at the best they could. So like these top players, same way, like just use what you have. If there's a baller in the game, great. Use it for info. If they take out something and they put like a new weapon in, or like, oh, the drum gun's back, and people were upset about that. Like literally, why are you complaining? Now it's something else you can use. Like just use it. You're playing for more money than I'll ever make in my life. Just use it. Like I don't care.
The first time they
should be worried about winning, not what's going on.
Well, the first time that this really became like a noticeable, where they were adding things right before events, like purposefully, so that they could see them in action at the highest level right off the bat. It reminds me of when they put the sword in, and players were like, "Do we play it with it? Do we just like kind of have like a gentleman's agreement?" And then you had Sam say, "Screw it," and he went off with it. And that took balls. He got so much hate on Twitter for that. It died down like right away. But initially, people were pissed. But it's like, dude, what else? He's wrecking.
At a point, his
name was in everyone's mouth. He was doing good.
Yes, at a point, if Fortnite players want to complain about things being put in before qualifiers, have you ever played Call of Duty? Have you ever been to an event where the day before they drop a patch that literally ruins every single recoil pattern for a gun that you have to relearn the day? Like, here's the thing. If you're going to be playing for that much money, gentlemen agreements are the worst thing in esports to ever exist. I would never be told otherwise. It's only worked one time, and that was in COD Ghost. That's the only time. Gentlemen agreements make
if you count all the people that would fly around in the planes and not shoot each other. That was,
they put a sword down, and people were like, I understand what you're coming from. You're saying, should I use the sword? Should I not? Is it fair? This is about. It's Fortnite. Pick up the damn sword and use it, because do you want to win money or do you want to play fair because the game No, it's in the game. It's legal. Use it. Like, I don't understand why you're getting mad. It's literally there for you, and the smartest guy was the one who said, I'm going to use it and win this game. Like, they're handing you money and you're saying, I don't feel like it's legit. Like,
the smartest thing to do would be
it enrages me
every week or any tournament. Yeah, the smartest thing to do when something new is added, once it's announced, I don't care if it's a day, if it's less than a day, you need to focus and try to focus your game style around that, just because the fact that it'll throw everybody else off. You'll have such a big advantage of just based on that. And also, you'll constantly get all that clout from the people, from the spectators, from the observers, because they look at this guy dominating with the new weapon that we want to promote.
They can keep complaining, but as long as you're winning, you're getting clout, money, and everything else. Yeah, like who cares at the end of the day? Like, I came in second, but I played the right way. I came in first and I used a sword and I got 20 grand more. It's not hard. Just use the damn thing. Like, so yeah, just if they put it in the game, it doesn't always have to be a negative. Just use what they give you. That's the point. You're supposed to be a player. You're supposed to adapt. Fortnite is literally built around adapting. Pun intended. Use the damn things they give you.
You'll have those people that will complain about the new items that are added, and then those same people will also complain that, you know, I couldn't qualify. I can't play because my drop spot got changed. It's like that is a big thing about initial fights in this game, but you should not have that be your sole reason.
Like, that's if you don't get a good drop spot, you're immediately done.
Because when it comes to RNG, you can land anywhere and find a scar. That's the point of the game. You can't. That's not something I think that should be an excuse.
No. I mean, people like to make excuses for pretty much everything, so you can't necessarily take all the excuses. But it is refreshing to have somebody come in here and vigorously defend the use of some of these items, because that has definitely not been. I mean,
I don't defend anything. I just think GAs are the stupidest thing to ever exist, and I get so heat. My blood pressure is like through the roof right now. Tyler knows it. I've told him 1,000 times how much I hate gentleman agreements because they just make no sense. And it's
Well,
like
they don't work very often either. Like especially in a game like Fortnite where game theory is involved. Like you have 100 people and not one of them is gonna break that.
exactly.
Are you sure?
And it's
Have
not
you
a
ever
private
met 100
server.
people?
It's not a private server. That's what people keep forgetting. This is not a game where things are orchestrated and set up before it starts. It's random. You're dropping in with random people. There is no guarantee that someone is not going to go pick that up or some noob is not going to run over and take it. If you don't know that everyone on that entire server is playing by a gentleman agreement, you get your ass over that sword and you take it. Like it's not complicated.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Well, that was a bit of a sidetrack from the World Cup, but I was something I wanted to ask you. I'm glad I did because it was very, very entertaining. I enjoyed that rant very much. I hope the viewers did too. Quick reminder, guys, in the chat, if you have any questions for myself, Trooper, or Spaceman, feel free to drop them in, and we will get to them at the end of this show.
I need like a quote or something like written down or something on a shirt or something. It's Fortnite. Use the damn sword. That's a great line. I just want to say.
I'll make that.
Yeah, you should. You'd probably sell copies of it. And that started to touch on a discussion that I do want to have, but I think best to quickly wrap up this World Cup stuff first. The one thing I wanted to talk about was Europe, actually. So there was a player called, I'm going to butcher this, Villain.
I thought his name was, I'm going to butcher this at first.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
like, Vialanen.
I think he's from Finland, and I'm so sorry. Again, I've said it many, many weeks, but names are hard. Reading is hard. Vialanen.
It's okay, everyone. He said geezer last week instead of geyser.
Stop making fun of me.
He said geezer.
No, he was talking about an old man. That's why. I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't. I'm embarrassed. So there's two things. First, the E11 screw. Wow. I was trying to say Stompy at the same time. Stompy, and I can't say that name either. Stinkin. Yeah, I guess it's Stinkin. We're gonna go with that. So this is they had already actually qualified, and now they won. So essentially, the next team in, who's these new G players, Booth and Nito, they are going to be the guys who actually get to qualify in their place because the E11 duo already has their spots. So they won the 10 grand, which is awesome. I mean, definitely makes sense to at least play for the money, but yeah, it's pretty nice that they gave the spot to somebody else and didn't just be like, well, too bad.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But there was this guy Villanen. Essentially, he was like 4 points away from qualifying, and in his last game, his duo partner actually didn't connect to the game. He had to play the whole game solo, and he went off. I'm pretty sure I got a clip of this, and he was going.
Dude, it was so nasty. The cops are coming. You hear that?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm honestly surprised this hasn't happened before. I live like 2 minutes from a fire station.
I was like, is that my part?
No. I live downtown Toronto, and there's a fire station. Like if I throw a rock really well, like if I was an MLB pitcher type dude and I could throw a rock that far, I could hit the fire station from my place. It is ridiculous.
Coming out because the clip's gonna be fire.
Yeah.
No, well, throw a rock here, crime.
Like you said, he couldn't get his teammate into that last game because of disconnect, and if they were to both make it in, they were going to qualify. It's actually a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Yeah, it is. Because I mean, the guy finished 4 points away anyway, and he was getting a lot of kills by himself. If he had more help, like if he had one other guy to get kills there, I would not at all have been surprised to see him qualify. So
dude,
that's
10 points right by himself. That is nutty, man.
10 or 11, I think. Yeah, it was nuts. Like the guy put on a monster performance to try and get himself in. So I felt really, really bad. I just wanted to give him a shout out and keep trying, buddy. Hopefully next week, man, because that's rough. Like that's you never want to see people not qualify for an event like this based on those types of issues, right? You want it to always come down strictly to the player skill. So yeah, here we go. So this he just goes off here at the end of this game. Like look how many kills he's got already. He's already at 5. 12 people left, and the Shadow Stone.
Wow.
I'm following this dude on Twitter because he's a monster.
I know what Spaceman would say about that Shadow Stone. He would already disagree with.
Dude, use it. You know why? Because that was a beautiful zone peak too. Just like I think most people think that when you run out of zone, you're just gonna run around like to the left and just re-challenge. No, like he literally, like you said, like he pops the smoke, he jumps up, and he gets height advantage. Like that's perfect. Like these are the things you need to do. And look what he does. He puts himself in a position to pick up a couple of elims. Like it's simple, dude. It really is. Just use what's given to you and use it to the best of its ability. Wow, he actually went off. He went off. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel bad for that guy. Shout out to him. Like I said, hopefully you qualify next week, dude. Love to see you at the World Cup. And
Hey
that's,
man, if you have another teammate, I'm sure you'll be fine. Like,
yeah,
if you're playing like that.
definitely. And then obviously only the one duo qualifies from NA West, which still blows my mind that only from the entire West Coast of America, there's only one duo that qualifies. So this time it was the KNG guys, Leno and Barl.
Dude, it's
Barl.
the West Coast. Like, we live in the East Coast and Canada. You understand it's rainy here and cold. No one goes outside. We play Fortnite. Over there, it's beautiful out. They're all outside.
That's true.
Like, yeah, so we should be happy there's at least one West Coast team here. I'd be surprised if there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not. I really would. But,
What about Seattle, sir? It sucks in Seattle.
it's
It rains
rainy.
all
They
the
stay
time.
inside. That's and they're not West Coast. They're like they're
They
North, they're North Alaska. That's what they are. They're not West Coast, dude.
That doesn't count.
Oh man, I definitely think Vancouver wants a word with you. It's not the greatest there either. Pretty rainy most of the time. But you have a good point though. The East Coast does inherit. Why are we all still here? Why don't we move to LA? We should just like all move to LA. That would be so much better. What are we doing with our lives? And you saw that Snow guy almost
actually,
qualified in duos as well, right?
I want to stay on the East Coast. Better connection to the servers, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, you see in fourth place there, Snow. I think that was who we were referencing a little bit earlier, Spaceman, when you were saying the guy who just came out of nowhere in the first week and qualified. He's 15, has no org. As far as I'm aware, he still doesn't have an org.
That's probably and that's smart for him because you know what that means? It doesn't mean that he wasn't contacted. It means that nobody put out a good offer.
Yeah.
Like I'm 15-year-olds are smart, and if he has good parents behind him, which I'm sure he does, they're probably saying, well, you better get something that sets up for your future. And probably no org has approached him yet. So I'm happy for him. Keep rolling solo. He's placing fourth consistently. Like
I'm glad you brought that up too, Troop, because I remember we were talking before the show earlier about this kid. I mentioned him, and this guy, one of the only two people right now that have qualified for the solos for the World Cup finals. One of the two people in North America that don't have an org. And the other person that doesn't have an org played in one qualifier this week and last week, and qualified. And so that people coming out of the woodwork now that you've never heard of. As far as this guy Snow goes, super impressive on his end, and I cannot wait to see him later on in this event. This is the kind of stuff that you love seeing. Those just like you said, Sean, hasn't got the good offer. That's the smart thing. A lot of these players think that you need you need that org to help boost yourself, but really if you just look at kind of take a couple steps back, look at the bigger picture of things. It is obviously more important to build up your brand, but right now I mean a lot like all these players that are getting close to qualifying or getting in the top echelon of players in every week. You guys are in the driver's seat as far as I'm concerned. You guys can do whatever you want. Don't get ahead of yourself. I remember I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, or it might have been last week. Just don't sign anything. Don't get too excited or overzealous, because honestly, there are certain times where it would actually hurt you more than help you if you got an org. So you want to make sure that everything's fair on your end and that you're looking out for yourself. So just don't get too excited and think, oh, if I sign under an org, I'm officially a pro or I'm sponsored. Just try to get that mentality out of your head and try to focus on being the best player, because trust me, if you're too excited for that org jump, if you just wait, just have a little patience and keep playing, you're going to get that call that you're waiting for. Not just the one that an org is contacting me, not an org. You're going to get that email eventually, very soon, sooner than you think. That's the org that you want to hear from. Yeah. So make sure you focus on that and keep an eye out. This guy Snow, love it. Love how good he's doing. Orgless, and I want to see him keep doing better.
Yeah, definitely. And as a quickly PSA again, guys, excuse me. I know I said this like last week maybe, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but there are esports lawyers who will review your contract for free if this is your first time. Bryce Blum, right? Use that. Definitely use that. That guy's seen a million contracts. He knows what's up, and you might as well. Like he's willing to do it for free for you. So you might as well, work with him, send him your contract, and he'll make sure that there's no snakery being involved. We definitely don't want to see that happen to anybody. I think esports has come too far. We're not in the wild west anymore. Now it's just the Wild West. So we're slowly moving out.
Like I agree, like 100%. Like wait for an org to contact you for the right one, but that doesn't mean that you can't consider ones. Like the only orgs that I would say you should go for, and as corny as it sounds, is 100% true, is Phase, Optic, or 100 Thieves. And the reason I say that is because one of the name, and you can't get that big without having without being reputable and having people constantly bounce and check you. And two, those orgs were built by gamers and they're still run by gamers. So like people like Hector, people like Matt at 100 Thieves and Temper at FaZe, like these guys are like dads. Like they take care of their players. So like when they recruit people, it's less of a business, more of recruiting you into the family and bringing you in to propel you to be the best you can be. So I'm not trying to sound like an infomercial, but it's about understanding who the real like positive influences in the game are. So like it's one thing to be contacted by a small org or a medium org, but like if FaZe or Optic or 100 Thieves contacts you, that's something you should and you know you can and should look at, because those are orgs that are run by gamers who have enough of a reputation of being good. And then, like, you know, it's just they literally propel you to be better. So that's definitely. I mean, if you get contacted them, please reach out and ask them to follow up with you. But like other than that, like like you said, Bryce literally reviews contracts all day long. Would be happy to help you out. That's something that you should always do.
It's strictly too like orgs at that level. You have to remember. If you're a streamer at all in any capacity and you're good enough as a player, you know, qualify and then get one of those orgs to reach out and sign you. Yeah. The clout you gain instantly from a name such as those types of orgs, that blows your stream numbers up too. You get a lot more eyes on you, and it's trust me, it's so much better.
And it gives you leverage. Exactly. In terms of contracts, like if you get screwed, you now have clout behind you to like help you out. Like it's literally
so much room.
I wish 15-year-olds knew how much brand importance really is important. Like literally building your brand and having equity from the time you're a teenager, if you're a high competitor, is more important than anything you'll ever do in your life.
And you know what? Sidebar, real quick, just so we don't get too off track. That also goes hand in hand with what you guys are tweeting. Keep an eye out for what you guys are tweeting.
Yes.
Don't even if you know.
Don't say dumb shit.
I'll see so many tweets. Like I really don't like want to get too into this, but I'll just leave it this. I see way too many people on Twitter that'll say some dumb shit, say some just volatile, mean, something.
Unless
racist,
you're verified,
and then I'll click on their. Yeah, right. But then you'll like click on it, and then it's like aspiring streamer or aspiring designer. It's like, dude, you got it all wrong, man.
Stay away from politics. Stay away from religion. Stay away from race stuff. Like, please don't say. If one of the best advice I was ever given, and it was from Dexerto, they said, if you have to think about tweeting it, and if you type it out and you have to think about hitting send, don't tweet it.
Oh yeah,
like literally, just reread the tweet, and if you feel like, even if it seems like funny to you, if you feel like there's at least one person who won't get it, that one person could be a representative for someone else.
Now you can totally debate people on Twitter. That's encouraged. Yeah. But as far as crapping on people, just straight out, like you got to know the difference there.
You got to avoid meme culture.
Watch what you guys are saying, because trust me, if you're trying to get into esports, and this is if as a personality or a player, people are reading, checking out all your stuff on social media. That's a go-to. So just make sure you guys watch out. You know. Don't think that you're invincible in there, because that'll really hurt you in the long run. Really.
Yeah, unless they're funny memes. Please share the funny memes.
That's totally cool.
Yeah, I want to see all of the cat memes. So don't. then it's fine. That'll help.
Yes.
But otherwise, exactly what those guys said.
The future is more important than a joke.
Yes, 100% agree. That was good advice. I love how we're basically like esports dads at this point. We're like just helping.
We need Dr. Phil to come back up on the screen, because that's I feel like we're just that every week now.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'll tell you what about Twitter.
At what age did you start feeling this way? It's like, I'm sorry, man.
Oh man, you guys are killing me. All right. Community hot takes. So we're gonna hop in on a couple of bigger discussions that I saw going on this week on Reddit, on Twitter. No, not really. That was just our
pretty much had our own.
That was our own, like, just this is what we think is
undercut.
Yeah. So generally,
if you guys are new to the show, you'll learn that we always have a structure, and then that structure just falls apart as the minutes go on, because our conversations just thread in all directions. We try to stay on track.
Today.
I love it though. I love it. It wouldn't be Tilted Talk if it wasn't everywhere.
God damn it. F delivery. That sounded way better in my head. All right. So the first thing that I saw on Reddit that I thought was an interesting conversation is people again, and this is going to hurt all of us because I know we all originated on the console, so this is a direct attack on us. I feel attacked, guys. Aim assist. People are going, well, if the field of vision is an optional setting that provides an advantage, and your screen resolution is an optional setting that provides an advantage, why is aim assist allowed? That is also an optional setting that 100% does provide an advantage, not necessarily to you over a keyboard and mouse player. I still think you can be more accurate with a keyboard and mouse, but over somebody who's on console and not using aim assist. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever tried playing a console game without aim assist. It is hard. What do you guys think? Because I thought this was actually like, I obviously don't necessarily agree with taking out aim assist because I like using it, but I understood. I'm like, well, that's at least a rational argument.
Well, when I first started playing online shooters, I was gifted Xbox 360 from my aunt and uncle. That was like, they were like, you get one huge gift, and I ended up getting that in like I think it was 2005, 2006, what the year it launched, and I played Call of Duty 2 on there and loved it. But it's still, since it was like a competitive shooter, it was my first time online, I still didn't understand or know really what aim assist was. Obviously, it was happening, but like I didn't really know about like really what it was because I wasn't a PC gamer, so I didn't know a difference. And then as Gears 1 came out, Gears of War 1 back late 2006, I'm playing through it, and then as I started getting better with the sniper, I remember my buddy telling me that, you got to use the aim assist properly when you sweep your shot. I asked him more about what he was talking about. So we would go into games and test it. And as you sweep, your aimer would slow down over your enemy's head. And you were saying, Troop, asking, have we ever played a game without it? Well, that was my first exposure to trying aim assist and trying without, because we would do in Gears 1, we would do sniper matches with 8 players, 4v4, but it would be friendly fire. So we would just shoot at whoever, just madness, like a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And if the difference between trying to hit your teammates and trying to hit the enemies was if you hit like a friendly fire sniper, it was a headshot, it was like way cooler because it felt way harder to do. There was no assist whatsoever. It's like you're trying to aim like that, and it's ridiculously hard. Switching to a PC with a keyboard and mouse, the accuracy, you don't need it. It's so much easier. We use a mouse, every day when we're on the computer. So we'd be a little bit more, I think it can relate a little bit better. But with the controller, man, you need that because hey, have you ever tried to, it's hard enough, people that are good with controllers, to try without aim assist. Imagine trying to give a controller to somebody somebody that's older that's never gamed before, and they can't figure out how to use both sticks at the same time. Even they can't even wrap their head around that concept. When you're the best possible controller player, even the best possible controller players, they can't keep up sometimes with the accuracy. So it needs to be a thing. It absolutely needs to be a thing. But I don't think that it separates PC and controller players, or I should say keyboard and mouse and controller players so differently in terms of it being unfair. And a final point on that is because look at how you can edit and how fast you can build on keyboard and mouse. Like you could turn your DPI so high. Some like Mr. Savage, you want to talk motion sickness, try watching his stream. Dude is so sick. You don't even know what he's doing. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing, and he just might get lucky and it works. But like players on controller, they cannot edit that quickly. Like you can't be that accurate with it. There's pros and cons with everything. And I think with controller players, they have the aim assist, but there are so many other advantages that keyboard and mouse players have that aren't even talked about.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Spaceman, what's your take on this?
Literally everything Tyler just said. I 100% agree. Like, I get the argument, but same thing I'll say is like what Tyler said, his last sentence, where there's so many advantages to both. Like, if you ever take a console player and put them on PC, they'll do fine. Like, I literally every single time I've ever seen a pro console player be put on PC, they do pretty good. They do okay, not great, but they're okay. Put a pro PC player on console for the first time, they have no idea what they're doing, and they literally cannot hit a shot. It's not their fault.
Except Ninja.
Ninja's completely different story.
Yeah,
it's not and Shroud, but not their fault. But it's aim assist is meant for controllers because one, the movement, you literally have to move your thumbs. You can't move your whole arm to aim. You have to move your thumbs.
Very true.
So that's and like the top console players would play without aim assist and then turn it on. Like they would practice without it to get better naturally, and then they would turn it on. So that's why when you saw people like Lethal and Snakebite and Formal and COD, when they would hit shots that just made you go, "What in the hell?" Like because even though yes they have aim assist, it's still not easy. Like this, it takes a lot of skill to be able to shoot like a PC on a console. But like when it comes to like, I know that Fortnite's now trying to tweak around with this to see if they can put console players against PC players but the whole issue is about, yeah, like you said, like, where's the line? Do we allow the aim assist? PC obviously doesn't have it, and it's a lot easier to hit shots there. Problem with consoles, good because it has it, but yes, like you can't quick turn, you can't quick 90 things. It's harder to edit faster. So PC players literally have an advantage in aiming, they have an advantage of editing and quick turns. The cracked out console players who put their sensitivity all the way up, who do that, are either really, really good because they know how to do it, or they're taking huge risks because they're gonna lose their bearings. They're gonna have to constantly recenter and do everything. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's literally 6 or 7 positives for PC and literally 1 positive for console, which is auto aim, which doesn't even really help them that much. No. Like I've never seen someone win a gunfight because of auto aim. It's always been they maybe get recentered due to the auto aim, and it's more negative times that I've seen in events where someone gets 2 auto aimed at once, like they see 2 players or they get auto aimed through a wall and it ruins their shot. Yep. And then they end up dying from it because they were getting pulled to another player. I've never seen a commentator say, "Wow, that auto aim was great and it came in clutch." No, it's always he auto aimed to someone else and he got killed for it. So this is a situation where literally it is completely negative for the console player to use. But if they can do it well, it takes nothing away from PC. You still have the advantage. So I don't even feel like it's a debate. If console players want to play against PC in World Cups, that should be allowed because it's literally a disadvantage for them to do so.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I'm super happy you brought up the double person thing because that's something that
all the time.
No PC player brings that up because no PC player ever sees that happen. They're like, "Oh, this console player is just a noob." No,
they think
my aimer got literally dragged off of your body to the guy who was running behind him. It infuriates me.
They think auto aim means like aim, like they think auto aim is the same as aim assist. Aim assist in like Call of Duty on campaign is literally we will drag your scope to the person's head so you can kill them. Yep. In like multiplayer, it's just auto aim. It's not aim assist, just auto aim. It literally means it can when you get close to the hitbox, it'll bounce your cursor around the hitbox. So when the recoil happens, you have a chance to control it so it's not out of reach. That's it. It literally doesn't drag you anywhere. It just keeps you within the range in case the recoil bounces your thumb off the stick. That's it. But even then, it doesn't really work because they change the recoil pattern all the time. So it's like people think that auto aim means literally an aimbot. Doesn't exist.
It's not an aimbot, guys. Like it's not one of those mods from Halo 2 where you would just sit in the sky, hold down the right trigger, and have your bullets magnetically fly and kill everybody. That's not what's going on.
Yeah,
guys.
no,
you actually have to aim, and it's hard. And if you disagree, fight me. Pick up a controller. Let's go. Let's go.
Fighting words.
Fighting words right there. All right, so I'm glad that we were kind of all on the same page there. Yeah. But it was the only reason I brought that one up is because I was like, okay, do you know what? I'll at least give this man credit for the logic on the argument. I mean, clearly he's a
I can
PC
definitely
player.
see the argument, 100%.
I understood where he was coming from. I mean, I think he's wrong, but I understood where he was coming from. So I thought, best to give that thread its due. Yeah. The second thing is it wasn't one thread as much as so many threads, but it was basically talking about the unvaulting event. And how, I mean, we discussed this a little bit earlier, but I kind of tried to steer the conversation away from this because I wanted to get into it now. And how really what this, in my opinion, and in this thread, one of the threads opinions that I saw too, it was genius. Like I was talking about this with my friend the other day as well, because, especially us who exist on Twitter and Reddit, we're like, esports is life, gaming is life type people. It can feel like we are everybody and everybody thinks like us. And then you have an event like that and you realize how outnumbered we are by the person who never signs on Twitter, never signs on Reddit, just turns on Fortnite once in a while to play with their friends or something. Yep. And how that is the majority. Yeah, and that is the majority of the Fortnite fan base. And I think, not only is this a great, like, obviously this event made it super obvious for Fortnite itself, but I think it's also a really good lesson for a lot of people, especially because Fortnite has such a young fan base. I think this was actually a genius lesson, like one of those wise, like lessons that you get from some master when he's telling you like a Karate Kid almost like wax the car or something, and it turns out to be like how to do something completely but it turns out to be something completely different. Like so often today, you know, we exist on social media, we see a conversation and we think that everybody has one of these 2 points of views. We don't realize that the majority of people don't think like that at all, and they're not on social media and they're not talking about that, or they're just not in that thread or conversation, right? So I think it was really eye-opening for a lot of people to see what exactly, like how drastically far off the conversations that we see on social media are every day in terms of Fortnite are to the reality. And it kind of is a good lesson for them to see like that. Maybe this applies to other areas of life too. Maybe these things where I think everybody agrees or thinks this one way, it's not really true. It's just those are the people who are constantly tweeting or constantly posting on Reddit, right? Because if you're happy with the game, you're not really looking for a place to complain. It's only the people who are like upset about something who are constantly looking for a way to you know, voice their opinion and make themselves be heard. And this kind of goes back to the changes on siphoning too. So apparently during that period where they were testing siphoning, you know, 10% of players were more engaged and 90% of players were less engaged. Now, obviously, you know, Apex was pretty new at that point, so there was a lot of overlap there. That maybe drew some users away, but for 90% of people to play less Fortnite during that period, I think that's a pretty strong statistic that does say, hey, a lot of these casual players were just getting absolutely rushed all the time and they didn't like dealing with it. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, how does a game like Fortnite, and I think this isn't just Fortnite, but any game really, like how do you manage this vocal minority of people who are obviously some of your most passionate fans, right? Like these are the people who are buying the most skins, they're the people who are into the game, they're investing their most time on your server, they're giving you all the metrics that you love as a company. And then how do you balance their opinions and their thoughts versus the much larger majority of people who aren't saying these things, or who maybe have completely opposite points of view, but they're just not vocalizing them? Like how do you balance that?
Yeah, what do you think, Sean?
Screw you, Tyler.
Hey, he answered the last one first.
Yeah, it's true.
I was trying to be polite.
I don't think there's a win-win scenario here. Like I feel like this is one of those questions that could have like 15 different answers, and everyone's point will be valid because it's how they see it and not necessarily how it should be. So like, you know, I think the real question, Troop, that you're asking is like, how do you cater to each individual? How do you cater to each group in the best way possible without neglecting what's already been established and who you're trying to cater to next? And the hardest part is because if someone figured out that answer, literally every single company and market in the world would be making $1 billion because it's never been done. So I think that this is an age-old question that every single esport has, which is same thing we've been arguing about with Gears the entire time. Nasher and pubs or Nasher and competitive? Which is it? It's the same thing. Do you cater to casual fans? Do you cater to competitive? Do you cater to the young kids who have just got into the game, who don't have a Twitter or Reddit, don't look for a place to complain? Do you cater to the top streamers who literally are social human beings? Not that the kids aren't, but like they are the social network. Like they are their own enterprise. So how do you do that? I think the only way to do it, and again, my opinion is not going to be the same as anyone else's because everyone has a different way to look at it and everyone's is correct. If I was running the company, what I would do, even this is probably frowned upon, I would just make two different areas of the game. So I would make the standard Fortnite game that everyone knows and that caters to the young kids, the casual viewers, the people who just like playing in masses. Back when we were kids, it was like, you know, playing Modern Warfare 2 after school with your friends. Same thing here. Play the same way, keep whatever you want, you know, change, vault things, unvault them, whatever you want to do. That's up to the discretion of the company. But, you know, just make a base game that we have now. If you want it to be competitive and you want it to be for those streamers who like to go hard and like to make that engaging content, then you need to first recognize that your game is not built that way, but it can be adjusted that way. And the best way to do that is just make a separate lobby. So make the normal Fortnite mode and then make the competitive mode and just do it from there. Because that way, people, I always hear the argument, well, then it splits up the fan base. How does it split it up if all you have to do is hit B to go to the menu and click down to go to the next mode? I don't feel like it splits it up that much. It's not a completely different game. It's just a different server. So just, if you want to play casual, just go play the casual. Because then, you know, the people who want a challenge can get a challenge in the competitive. The people who want to just pub stomp can pub stomp if they want to. But the majority of people will not waste their time on pub stomping if they want to be competitive. To get the competitive people on their own system, just give them their own playlist that goes for that. But other than that, just leave Fortnite alone. Leave it as its own game. But if you want to make it more cater to the competitive audience without changing your already established fan base, which is the young kids, make their own server. I feel like sometimes that's just the easiest answer.
Yeah, and you know what, Sean? The only unfortunate part about that, I completely agree with what you're saying. The only problem is now at this point, from what I mean, the way that the game or way that Epic has been catering to and now adding more and more and more things to creative mode,
Yeah.
that's pretty much where that'll fill that void for a lot of people,
Yeah.
or that's how Epic sees it. I think they're not going to say, hey, we don't need to separate the player base. We have creative if you guys want to do specific game modes like that, you know,
Yeah.
while they work on their own LTMs. I mean, me personally, I would love it, and I've been thinking this. I've been thinking of this for a while. They should have an LTM that stays like a long time, like how the 50 versus 50 is like almost a permanent LTM. Well, permanent LTM doesn't really make sense, but like a permanent game mode in the game, I think that everyone would universally love is if they did OG Fortnite game mode or like a season 1 playlist where might be harder for them, but the map would have to be exactly the same as season 1. All the loot would be the same as season 1.
Yeah.
It's up to them if they would want to. That would probably be really confusing to change the guns and the way, you know, their strengths and everything and their damage points. That might be difficult for them. But just keep only the guns that were available like when the game first came out. And I think that would take away mini potions. Like maybe they could even do like a season 2 or 3 where they had like a bare bones like right before Tilted dropped.
Yeah,
I think that a lot of people would love that kind of game mode because it would take you back. They could even just call it nostalgia LTM, like if they want. Like, I mean, I feel like that would get so much love, but I mean, you can't complain that the player base gets separated because they have different lobbies anyway, the LTMs and all that. And you gotta like, oh man, but you can't split them up, but you can't pub stop, dude. At this stage now of Fortnite, this level. The pub, all the people that you would pub stop normally, they're in the big player team modes. They're in the 50 versus 50s and the food fights and disco dominations. They ain't playing the regular game modes anymore unless they have a full squad of people.
Yeah, because it's pretty sweaty. Even regulars. Like I played a couple regular games today, and I was, I got into some build wars with people where I'm like, did I queue up for arena? Look down. Nope, no points. Okay, well,
I'm like,
I guess this is just the mode now. Like the first 50, like if you find people in the first half the game, they're probably potatoes. But after that, it's like it gets really hard. You're like, oh god, these are good. Like I feel like most of them are just arena players wanting to warm up. And it's funny. I wonder if any game has ever split up their player base and made specific competitive playlists and had pros and Oh right, Halo did that. Oh.
Somebody say Animal Crossing? That's what I was thinking.
One of the most successful.
What's even more hilarious is that's not
time.
even the game that I was thinking of.
I was thinking of Animal Crossing.
Gears did the same thing. They have their casual and the competitive tuning for the weapons, and a lot of players didn't like that because you're playing 2 different games essentially.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say to your point, David, which it's basically just echoing what you said to both of you. I think we're at a point, like you said specifically, Tyler, that we're at a point where it's not, I'll say this, Fortnite is not marketing themselves to bring in new players. I believe that Fortnite, they will always gain new people who eventually download and come in. But I believe Fortnite has reached its peak level of engagement and new wave prospects. So like the early adopters, in marketing terms, you're not having laggards, which are people who wait to see if the product works and then they come in. That's not happening anymore because it's a free to play game. You're seeing early adopters, which is the people who jump on early and they stay there and then they bring in new people. Fortnite has reached that point. So I feel like the argument of people saying you're going to split up the player base at this point in the game cycle, people aren't going to, if you create 2 different separate player bases or 2 separate, lobbies, one for casual Fortnite, one for the competitive, people aren't going to log in and see that and say, oh my god, 2 servers, I'm out of here, and then leave. They're not going to do that. But what will happen is people who are playing it maybe some will get bored and they'll back out and see, oh, 2 lobbies have now been created. I want to jump into one, or someone who's new to it will jump into the game and say, oh, look, 2 versions I can play. I'm going to jump into casual. It's not going to be a situation where new people will come in, see it, and then leave. It's going to be a situation of people who already established themselves will leave. So if you don't, you've hit net zero. You've hit the situation where you have everyone's attention. Anything you don't change can create someone leaving. So literally taking no action is negative. At this point, literally taking any action towards making it for more communities, and this is positive, making it for more communities means that you'll get more engagement and more people will be more inclined to try things out. You literally have a win-win scenario of just do something. Like, that's it. Like, I doubt that someone's going to see that who's already been playing and say, oh my God, 2 lobbies, I can't handle this, and leave. They're not going to do it. So
there's too much to do in this game.
Yeah,
It
makes more marketing sense to literally just make another server for the people who want to play competitive, because it's only going to result in something positive. Like, I doubt they're going to make a server, like I said, and be like, oh my God, no.
I think that's where Arena it comes in too. Is
to an extent,
that I believe is the closest, the best that we can get at this stage for like a ranked playlist. And I if anybody out there is like pretty decent at the game and hasn't played Arena, I highly suggest it, because your first couple games you're gonna feel like a god. Trust me. You play because you're playing a bunch of people that also don't have any arena points, so you're getting a lot of people who it's like their first time, and it's
Thanos with a gauntlet, like
very unexpected. Very unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only problem is that is that now all esports are marketing, right? And companies want to use their esport as a way to market the newest. It's like what we see with Epic and the skin rotation and the newest items being thrown into the game right away. It's just a way to market. So if you split it up and you have the competitive players on different settings, and you can't market those things. I mean, the sad truth is that those original competitive settings for like a game like Halo or Gears were, more back. I mean, I don't know as much about Gears. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but for Halo, it was definitely, those settings were not created by Bungie. They were created by MLG.
Yeah.
And then, because it was a tournament organizer that had a completely separate set of interests, right? And then eventually they Bungie was like, okay, fine, you can have this playlist in the game. But it took a while. And I mean, for a long time, you couldn't even say the word MLG on the Bungie forums. You'd get banned. Anyway, I digress. Clips of the week. We've got like 50 minutes here before we got to wrap this thing up. Guys, if you have questions, drop them in the chat now. Otherwise, we will not get to them. So, yeah. Post them wherever you're watching. We will see them. We will answer them. Okay, clip of the week number 1. We have your boy RT Danger, who's actually a viewer, and submitted this clip to me directly. So, guys, if you want your clips featured, send them to me, please. Even if it's not the greatest clip, and you're like, well, I don't know if this is gonna make it in. Like, for one, I like seeing clips, but nasty.
I like it. I mean,
very simple.
You're getting people, like, even from day one with that Flintlock, we're just doing some insane things I'll never do.
Yeah, I like it. It's simple. It's to the point. Clean.
I mean,
very
I was
clean.
impressed with the hunting rifle no scope.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's not easy.
Yeah.
So uses the Flintlock here, and then gets that
The
hunting
headshot,
rifle
too.
Headshot no scope. I mean, that's not easy to do, friends. That thing has it's hard to aim with that when you're not scoped in. So I thought that was pretty good. Plus, it's one of our first user submissions. We had one last week as well, but we're trying to get more viewer clips submitted, because ultimately, guys, what I'd love is for the clips of the week on this show to just be 100% user submitted. Obviously, we have to get enough for that to be.
We're
the
trying
case,
to keep
so
Tyler from submitting his own.
I know.
We almost had Tyler submitting his own clip under a different name today. Don't worry, we stopped him, guys. The diabolical plan was put to a
The
stop.
Persian shoe salesman has a new clip. Literally, only us 3 know what that's for.
Oh man. Okay. I forgot about that.
I did.
Thank you for the reminder. Thank you for the reminder. All right, clip number 2, anti-mids. Remember, guys, you can vote on which clip is going to win. So just hit 1, 2, 3, or 4 in chat, and maybe it'll affect the outcome. We also run a poll on our Twitter at Tilted Talk Show.
Oh, nice edit. Oh, and he traps that poor.
Oh, that guy got away.
Oh, he gets away.
And
Almost gets away. Jumps right into the shotty. I'll tell you what, man. He was quick on that. That was pretty decent.
Yeah.
I just like his. It didn't seem like a masterful play, but the technique and the awareness and being able to track the other guy below him, knowing he's below him, and then just editing, dropping down. See, he was a couple spots below him, so he had to pretty much go on faith. Hope he didn't land in front of him, getting one pumped. Look at that. Nice way to. And he had it back to the wall on that, so it was a first-person kill. I love it.
Yep.
Started to do it.
And it was for the win too. I always give more credit to clips that are for the win, because you won a game with it. So like it says something. It says something. Plus doing it. plus doing it in the clutch. What did you think? Did you do better?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm nowhere. I'm not good at Fortnite. That's why I cast it. But no, no. What's that thing they tell you in sports? The eyeball test. What inherently looks better? I love the clip was great. Like all the editing, and there's nothing to take away from the person who's gonna hate me for what I'm saying. The first clip was better. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You edited. Congratulations.
You do get to vote.
I'm never coming back on this show.
You're welcome back anytime. Don't worry, my friend. Clip of the week 3, Key Isle. So remember, guys, 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat, and we'd love to see who you guys think should win.
Oh,
that's the winner right there.
That
like
is, I've
only
never
wall
seen
remaining, and he has to just shoot through the crack.
I have never seen this before in my life. Like, I don't know.
I went through the crack. Like,
That is
do the mathematical odds on that never happens.
that is hitbox porn, what we like to call that. When
That wins.
when the game's hitbox is exactly as it should, that ball creeping right in that crack. Oh, dude, that's a thing of beauty.
I honestly didn't.
I
know
hit a shot just like that on Gears of War, dude, and that takes me back, and
Actually,
best shot I've ever hit.
I actually do believe that. You're an absolute genius. But dude, no, screw that's the best clip, dude. That's just gross.
That clip was pretty gross. I was just blown away when I saw it. I was like, that's a thing.
You know what that's like? You know what that's like? Do you guys ever play? You played Modern Warfare 2, I'm assuming.
Yes.
All right, you know High Rise, Spawn Snipe?
Yes.
This is the difference between hitting like a helipad shot or a crane shot for clip 1 and literally hitting a no-scope Spawn Snipe that goes through like the propeller blades and gets like a triple headshot. That's what that was. Like, that's disgusting.
And it's one of those things where I bet he didn't even. That's how he discovered you could do that. He probably wasn't even sure that was it.
Oh,
He was trying to shoot the wall out. He didn't even need to. He just cut out the middleman.
That's actually exactly what he said. He was like, the post basically said, I was just trying to break the wall. I didn't know you could do that.
And you can't argue if it's like if it's not supposed to happen because mathematically it shouldn't, but it did, so that's why it's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the clip right there.
Yeah,
y'all don't pick 3. I'm leaving.
to me, that was a pretty awesome.
That's why we do them at the end of the show, just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
That's gross, dude.
All right, the final clip number 4, Black Thunder, or Black Thunder, one of the two.
He's got one of those
You got it.
new bougie skins. I like it.
Yes, Black Thunder 22.
You're so cool. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just giving everybody shit.
Let's go.
Okay.
So there's the one thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the fact that this is a 1v4 right now. There's 5 people left in this game, and he's by himself. His duo is dead.
Okay, so one's
got a really nice loadout.
Oh, I see then.
Got Zoe.
All right, you gotta do something miraculous for me to think that you got this, buddy. Okay.
It's not as miraculous as it is troll.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Whoop, whoop. Oh,
See, that's clutch and cool, but he shot out those kids clearly didn't.
That guy just
understand
needed to
putting
take
filters
one
down.
step to the left, and he would have been saved.
Clip 3,
Look how close he is, dude.
Clip 3.
How does he? Oh, dude, come on.
That's a situation where
And he doesn't put a floor down to save himself. That's
that's clip 3.
so sad.
Easy.
Yeah.
I love clip 3. We got to go clip 3 on that.
Easiest decision I've ever made. Clip 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was the one that I had winning as well. But drum roll, please. What did Twitter say?
Ew.
No one voted for clip 3. You guys are idiots.
Because it was a 1-on-4 potentially,
Wow.
and it was endgame. There's a lot of factors that play into that.
A lot
No
of
one
idiots
voted
on
for
that
clip.
poll.
No one voted for clip 3.
A lot
Guys,
of idiots. A lot of
we
wrong people.
voted for clip 3, but it was just us. So
Got
I
on
don't
all
know.
4 of my Twitter accounts and voted for it if I knew it was going to be
But-
that bad.
Yeah, I would have voted on all of them.
Are you kidding me? That's mathematically impossible to ever happen again, and we can't give it. Like what?
I
You
know,
have
right?
a better chance of a black hole coming to Earth and forming. Like that's literally mathematically more likely.
I mean, but this single ramp rush was pretty nasty. I mean, come on.
I can do that.
It's pretty nasty. I mean,
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. If you're basing the clip off of its ability to stand alone by itself, you can always pull off a clutch like this by shooting someone out from underneath their own base or building a ramp up. How many times is it going to take you to no-scope a barn and not break the wall and go through the cracks and kill someone?
And actually kill the guy.
How many times? That's what I'm saying. It depends on how many tries this would take. I guarantee you would never be able to do this.
Can we?
1 in a million.
Can we give the award to both of these clips?
Yeah, I'll do that. That's fair.
I think we have to.
I think we can 100% submit this clip into the clip of the season contest, which I think actually we're probably gonna have to do next week. Now that I think about it, this is the last.
Are they seen as that easy to use now that people aren't even voting for a clip like that? Oh, I could do that. Like,
guys, it's clip of the season next week.
Ooh,
Dun dun dun.
I
don't know. What are we gonna?
We need that clip. We need that clip involved.
Yeah, we will have that clip involved. 100%.
You get Tyler's house. Welcome in, new.
No, you're not gonna get Tyler's house, unfortunately, guys. But you will get something cool. I have some. I know what I'm gonna do. I've already got the gears are turning. The gears are turning. We're thinking about it. There'll be something cool. We promise. That'll be announced this week or early next week, before the show. Also, we're gonna be giving a Razer keyboard away.
Ooh. Oh, love it.
So if you're not following our Twitter at Tilted Talk Show, you better be doing that because you need to be doing that in order to win. You're not going to find out about the contest otherwise, and then you're going to be sad. And you don't want to be sad when you could be mucking people with a Razer keyboard. Or maybe you game on a console and you just need a new keyboard for your computer. Everybody has a computer, right? So, yeah, guys, make sure you stay on top of that. It'll be coming out on social media this week. Stay tuned. I didn't see any questions.
No, me neither. Not any in this. I think everyone's. It's the calm before the
Trooper,
storm.
why are you
everyone's
guys so
waiting.
devilishly handsome?
We got called beautiful, which was like I've never been called that in my life, so I just stopped from tearing up. But
we got that calm before the storm. Season 9 starts tomorrow, so
season 9.
Let's do it, baby.
Dun,
We've come such a long way.
Yeah, we have. Anyway, Spaceman, thank you so much for hopping on here with us tonight.
Thanks for having me,
We
bro.
really
Appreciate it, bro.
Anytime,
Thank you.
man. It's the third musketeer. We almost didn't feel complete. This feels right. Everyone who watched, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and stay tuned. We will see you next week. Ciao.